So let's get to it. The reason you are here, the reason House of Mouse is happening, one of our biggest celebrities here today. So right now, I'd like to introduce voice actor, illustrated designer, and the voice of the leader of the band and the club that's made for you and me, Mickey Mouse. Please welcome Bret Iwan! Bret, you cannot, you can't use a microphone right now.
It's not working.
It's not working. Bret, welcome, Bret.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, good to see you. I've never met you before.
I know.
This is the first,
We've never done this before.
We've never done this before. It's our first introduction.
First introduction, first time on stage.
First time. These are my friends, by the way.
I could tell, they liked you.
Everyone say hi, Bret.
Hi, Bret!
How much did he charge you to clap? Pay you to clap.
No, Bret, they love you, they love you. So let's get into it. I'm going to be looking at my phone. It looks like I'm really on TikTok, but I'm not. These are my questions.
I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Starbucks, I'll take a flat white.
Grubhub will bring it. Okay. So Bret, listen,
Yes.
let's talk. Let's get right to it, okay? You're the voice of the most iconic fictional character in the world.
Ahsoka Tano.
No. The Star Wars Bret. All right.
Wait a second, how many of you expected Ashley to be here today? That was a rumor. She's not here.
She's not here. She's not here. I'm the moderator, and I prepared questions in case she showed up. We're best friends.
We are,
Yeah.
yeah. But she's not supporting me today.
Not today.
She's playing at the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. But seriously, the most famous character in the world, how did you process that, or is it something you just don't think about anymore?
I'm not sure I ever fully processed it, and so there is a part of me that just kind of, if I was to focus on it, it would be so intimidating that it kind of freaked me out, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big deal. Mickey is a big deal, and truthfully, he's less of a big deal to me because of the worldwide recognition and all of that, because I was and am such a Disney fan, such a Walt Disney fan, and such a Mickey fan that, like, the most exciting thing to me is that I'm a huge fan who loves his character, and I get to play with him. I get to be a part of that legacy. And so that's the part that's just kind of like mind-blowing to me. It was still a time when Mickey was being voiced by different people depending on where he was needed. So at Disneyland, if there was a parade, it was often Jack Wagner, the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls voice of Disneyland, because it was just easier for him to do it. And I think he would do Goofy and stuff like that. Fast forward a little bit into the 80s when the Disney Channel started. It was actually Roy Disney, Walt's nephew, who said, okay, look, now Disney's gonna have this huge presence on cable TV. So kids are gonna be at home, and they're gonna see Mickey and their friends, and they're gonna hear them. I want them to have a consistent experience. When they're watching Mickey at home, he sounds one way. When they go to Disneyland and meet him, he sounds the same. So that's when Disney Character Voices was started. Sorry, I'm totally going on a tangent.
No,
here.
not at all.
Question.
This is what they came for.
But so that's when Character Voices was started. So it was probably like, the mid to late 80s when Wayne really kind of became that official voice, that title that we put on these voice actors who are portraying these characters in that official capacity. That's what it means. It means they're the ones who are working the most consistently and frequently to provide that consistent thread. But what I loved about Wayne's performance is he truly, even though over time, and with all the plethora of work, he was having to portray Mickey in ways that hadn't been done before. For example, Mickey's early cartoons, he's going, hot dog! And that was kind of it. Or hello! And then now all of a sudden Wayne's part of shows where
He's giving you full dialogue and he's saying, hi Mark, it's so great to be here today. Oh, look at that.
Stop. You can't just go at me and say my name, Bret. Come on, man.
Oh,
Give me goosebumps over here.
So Wayne really was put in a position where he had to voice Mickey in ways that hadn't been done before, and so I think I really kind of observed that, where Mickey did develop a way of speaking that wasn't just always exclamatory. It was more conversational, and there was a lot of warmth that was brought into it, and heart. There's some really heart-wrenching performances that Wayne was a part of, whether it's on like Twice Upon a Christmas or The Three Musketeers or whatever. Like, we brought in a lot of stuff that Mickey didn't have up to that point. So I really attribute that to Wayne. And of course, plenty of people behind the scenes, but I think that's how he really inspired me. And you know, he did such a good job of bringing that, but then also working so hard to respect and honor the performances of Jimmy McDonald, but more importantly, Walt Disney, the original voice.
Yeah. Talking about Mickey and how he speaks, you know, characters like, for instance, Star Wars, like we know Yoda speaks backwards.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on Sesame Street, and Grover can't say can't. He says cannot.
Yeah.
He doesn't say I am, he says I am.
Uh-huh.
Is there any grammar things like that with Mickey Mouse?
Yeah, there are some things which are really simple and surprise people sometimes, people who are writing for Mickey. Mickey doesn't really say everyone, he says everybody.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so a lot of times you'll have a script and it's like, hi everyone, and I'll just automatically say, hi everybody. And sometimes people who aren't familiar with it are like, Brett, you actually said everybody instead of everyone. And I'll say, that's because Mickey doesn't say everyone. Oh, okay. I'm trying to think a little bit. Mickey's very colloquial because if you want to think about Walt Disney's Midwest roots, so with Walt was Mickey, Mickey was Walt, and Walt's providing the first voice. So there's a lot of like just colloquial ways of talking. Instead of saying you, Mickey often says yeah. You know, like
Nice to meet ya. See ya real soon.
you go,
See you real soon.
sounds weird.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it did. It felt like,
Yeah. There's moments where it's like Mickey Mouse goes like,
Do you see the blue triangle?
I'm trying to think what else. There's little thingies like that. You know, it's just kind of. I think anytime you can contract words and give it that like just real warm, down home Midwestern tone to the cadence and the way the way you're portraying these words, it's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So next question is a word he says a lot.
Nobody's ever asked me that. That was a great.
Come on, you with me, man. I do my homework. I've seen it in an interview before, but I think it's so amazing. And that's the story of your first introduction to Fantasmic and where you are now with Fantasmic. So can you tell us a little bit about that? We're talking the early days here.
Early days.
And then Fantasmic, and then in full circle, boom.
1992.
Uh-huh.
Didn't I meet somebody in here who told me they were born in 92? There he is. And I was like, oh, that means I'm 10 years older than you. Okay, so Fantasmic to me was, to this day, is quintessential Disney magic. So if you've never seen the Disneyland's version takes place in Disneyland. It's on the rivers of America, and it's really on Tom Sawyer Island. And so you have been at Disneyland all day, walking through this place, and seeing where the Mark Twain riverboat and the Columbia sailing ship are going by, and the rafts and the canoes, and then you're on Tom Sawyer's Island, and you're not thinking, you're just like in magic of Disneyland. And then at nighttime, all of a sudden, these light towers emerge from the ground, and there's fireworks, and Mickey's appearing, and projections, and it's just like, to a 10-year-old kid, and to a 40-year-old man, amazing. Like, they're like in awe. So I remember the first time I saw Fantasmic at 10 years old, and I just was blown away. And the soundtrack was amazing, and Mickey was such a big part of it. So I was obsessed from that point on. Every visit, I insisted we have to stay for Fantasmic. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, so my family, a family of 6, would go, and understandably so, at the end of a long Disneyland day, sometimes my parents were not up for waiting for Fantasmic and finding the spot and stuff. And on one of those trips, my dad was like, we gotta go home. And as we were leaving, we passed a shop and I saw the soundtrack for Fantasmic was for sale. And he's like, tell you what, I'll buy that and we can listen to it when we get home. And I was like, great consolation prize.
We're gonna listen to it in the car.
Yeah, so, this was before cars had CD players. So we had to wait till we got home to put it on our put it in the speakers. But I have vivid memories of sitting on our family room couch, listening to that soundtrack, and I was like cranking up as loud as I could, without waking up my brothers. And it was cool, but I'm telling you, I remember thinking like, this is great, but it's not the same. Like, I'm not feeling the bass of the speakers. I'm not feeling the heat of the fire and seeing the fireworks and listening to the crowd. Like, I was able to acknowledge something's missing. That didn't stop me from obsessing over that soundtrack forever. I listened to it all the time. I started talking along with it and performing all the characters, and that's where I started to go, that kind of sounds like Mickey. And so that's really where people are always like, how did you learn to do Mickey? How did you start doing it? I was just a kid talking along. You know, I was doing the magic mirror too. Like, I can't remember the line now, but I'd have a flashlight under my chin, and I'd look into my Aladdin poster on the wall, and I'd like, fame has no beauty, and I do all the voices. Anyway, later on, my brother and I started playing Fantasmic. We'd go out in the yard with hoses and little bottle rockets.
Wow!
Yeah, my dad had a projector for work, and we would take it out. I remember I like set it up so it's shown out the window inside, and we were projecting Sorcerer Mickey on this giant tree outside, and we're like, Mom and Dad, come and watch. And they were so nice to watch.
Wow.
So I was obsessed.
Yeah, a little.
Fast forward to the point of the story you probably want to know is, I can't even remember what year it was now, but years ago they decided to revamp Fantasmic. A lot of people call it Fantasmic 2.0 at Disneyland. And so I had been called into the studio one time for a Fantasmic project, but it was for Tokyo. And so I recorded all the dialogue for Tokyo's Fantasmic so that the Japanese voice of Mickey could dub over. So I was doing like reference basically for him to then mimic for the Tokyo version. So when I got scheduled for a Fantasmic thing, it wasn't a big deal. I was like, oh, it must be another iteration or whatnot. And then when I went in and I was given the script, it was, because again, I knew these lines by heart, it was all of the Disneyland Fantasmic lines. And I was like, wait, what's happening? Like, well, we're revamping Fantasmic, and as such, we need to update those lines. And this is the first time I've ever done this where I would happily have left that session and not done it, because I said, are we sure that this, I said, like, no disrespect to this creative team, but like, are we sure we need to do this? Because this is an iconic performance, and I don't want to be responsible for messing this up or stepping on Wayne's legacy, truly. Because it meant so much to me, and I knew it meant so much to other people. And they explained that because of the updates, they had to. You know, a lot of stuff done back then, believe it or not, the first Fantasmic was done on what they called reel-to-reel tapes. So it's recorded on tapes, literally like, you know, you've got one reel and another reel recording on tape, and you want something that's like to find it and edit it. And so at the end result, it wasn't easy just to like pick out the Mickey lines. They were reorchestrating and redoing everything. So I had to do those lines. And they said, but, you know, we may keep Wayne's finale line in there, just as a homage. And I was like, okay, love that idea. And they're like, but only if it works. And I should explain that there's a lot of times I've come back to work on something that Wayne did already, and you know, you might say, well, why not just keep Wayne's lines and throw in the new line? And it's like, as much as I've worked to sound as close to Wayne as possible, the recording technology's changed so much, right. So you're gonna get different audio qualities, let alone just the differences in our voice naturally. It's like, I don't think anyone can mimic someone's voice perfect. And so it's always just decided, like, for consistency, again, for character integrity, let's just record everything. So we did. And it was months later that it finally came out. It was the D23 Expo, I think, where they debuted it, and they like invited all the D23 members to go over there and see it. And my brother and I were in the park that night, and I don't know why I wasn't like willing to go get a spot, but I was like, it's fine. Like, I'm just gonna like hear it from the side. So we're doing our thing, Big Thunder Mountain, whatever, and it starts, and we like walk over, like, hey, let's check it out. So it starts, and it's my voice in Fantasmic, like this childhood dream come true, and it's like very surreal. I get emotional talking about it. I'm gonna try not to cry in front of you, Mark, because you make fun of me every time. But at the end of it, they ended up using my voice for the finale. Like, some imagination, huh? And it was just one of those like full circle moments where you sit there and go, how is this my life? How is this reality? And my brother, this is the part where I get emotional, don't start crying, Mark. He put his arm around me and he said, did you ever imagine when we were kids playing Fantasmic in the backyard that one day your voice would be projected over these speakers? And I said, whoa! I truly think a lot of times that opinion is based on your own nostalgia. It's you know, so much of that magic is tied to our own childhood and experiences, and for me it's Disneyland. That's where my heart is. But I mean, the Hollywood Studios Fantasmic is its own thing as far as I'm concerned.
It's like the rock star of it. You know it's there. It's set already. It's like going to a concert where this kind of comes out organically.
We don't get a Little Mermaid who gets a black tarp thrown over her.
Listen here.
Like, where did I get that?
Listen here.
The freeze blocker.
You still gonna be over there?
I'm gonna be back at my table for a little bit, and I'm going to the Magic Kingdom.
All right. Mickey Mouse himself. Thank you very much.